matter of time, I suppose.
Hi, my name's Jared, and I'm here to discuss with you today the implications of the apocalypse in pop culture. Now, there have been a very large increase in the amount of movies, books, and video games that have all pertained to the apocalypse and the end of the world. And I'm here to discuss with you today why I think that is. Why have we become a society that's so obsessed with the end? Do we think that it's coming soon? Or is it just because we like hearing about the end? Is it... I mean, there's a lot of questions that pertain to it. So if you want to respond to this with your reason why you think we have become a society so obsessed with the end, then go ahead and respond to this video. Now, first of all, I think it's important to discuss a few of the ways in which we think the world is going to end. Perhaps first we could destroy the environment. Perhaps we will become unsustainable and there just won't be any resources left to sustain the huge population that we have right now. And that's one possibility. Perhaps, like a number of movies today have suggested, there will be a huge natural disaster. Perhaps global warming will cause some kind of cataclysmic event. Perhaps, like the Christians believe, revelations will occur and God will end the world. Or like the crazies believe, the New World Order is going to take over and the Antichrist will soon take over the government. Or, as a very last option, quite simply, we're going to blow ourselves up.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
First, let's look at one of the biggest trends in media today, the zombie apocalypse. Movies such as Zombieland, Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later, and Shaun of the Dead, and games such as Resident Evil, Dead Rising, and Left 4 Dead all center around the idea of a zombie apocalypse and what people would do if that occurred. And the zombies generally represent consumerism in society. It's kind of the apocalyptic idea of humans ravaging the planet, even stealing and killing each other, any means to survive. They're just living off of their hunger, basically. This issue of a means of survival plays a vital role in many apocalyptic tales. Cormac McCarthy's The Road tells the story of a father and son who travel across the country looking for a safe place to live after an unnamed cataclysm has struck the country. Soon it becomes hard for them to find food, and gangs of survivors become a constant threat as total anarchy has taken over the world. Post-apocalyptic tales are becoming very popular, especially with what many consider to be last year's best video game of the year in 2008, which was Fallout 3. You begin the game having lived your whole life in a fallout shelter, and one day you escape out of it to discover the wasteland above you, like some sort of twisted version of Plato's allegory of the cave. The game centers around the choices you make in this world, as you are often forced to break down to any means of survival, as raiders fight for control of the land, and food and water, when found, are often radiated from the nuclear fallout. The questions it raises are, will you steal, kill, take drugs, or even cannibalize others to survive in this messed up world? Both The Road and Fallout seem to suggest that the apocalypse will lead man to his basest form, and it explores the terrifying implications of that. Therefore, the apocalypse is the ultimate degeneration of man at his worst. Again, the idea that the apocalypse will be brought about by man's weakness and selfishness, which in these cases leads to a frighteningly realistic view of the end.
John thinks that there's going to be nuclear war.
What if that's why someone wants us out of the way? So we can't do anything to stop it. An attack on one is an attack on all of us.
Watchmen are over. What do you suggest we do about it?
Retribution.
Watchmen was one of the better films recently to deal with the end of the world. It took a much more philosophical standpoint than some of the other, kind of garbage movies out there have been. A lot of films, they just seem to want to capitalize on people's fears, and it seems like they're just trying to make a quick buck rather than actually saying something important. They merely use just a bunch of special effects to show things getting blown up. They especially like to blow up historic places. That seems to be like, the biggest thing out there, As long as, we get some huge landmark being demolished, it's good action. Roland Emmerich, the director of movies such as Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, and 2012, one of his upcoming ones, in which he deals with the end of the world in 2012 as predicted by the Mayan calendar. The trailers are basically a bunch of famous buildings being destroyed. It looks pretty much like garbage. What's to say about society when you know you can cash in on the apocalypse? Does the world even need to end? I think society's become fatalistic rather than looking at the ways in which things can get better, whether it's a warning or an exploitation of our fears. This recent surge in apocalyptic tales makes the future seem grim. If society won't look towards the good in our future, then perhaps we will be the ones bringing about our own end, like Kubrick seemed to suggest with Major Kong riding a nuclear warhead.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
We certainly have a strange love for our own destruction.
This is the end, beautiful friend.